Hello, welcome back to my channel. So once again, this is General Jokor, and today let's discuss our topic, the introduction to criminal justice system. And before that, I would like to ask you that if you are new in this channel, so please click to subscribe and also hit the notification bell para maging updated ka sa mga upcoming natin na videos. So thank you so much in your support. Thank you very much. And let's start our topic for this today, the introduction to criminal justice system. So first, what is a criminal justice? So criminal justice defined as the system of law enforcement, adjudication, and correction that is directly involved in apprehension, prosecution, and control of those charged with criminal offense. So wait so criminal justice, it is a system of law enforcement. This is a process of law enforcement and adjudication, correction that directly involved in apprehension, prosecution, and control of those charged with criminal offense. So if there's somebody who committed a crime, so the criminal justice system, it is the flow or the process of handling criminals or the offenders or the violators of the law in our society. In general, criminal justice system involves number of government agencies that ensures the protection of the public, the maintenance of order, the enforcement of the law, the identification of transgressors, the prosecution of the accused, and the finding of the guilty, and the correction and the treatment of criminal behavior. So when we say criminal justice system, usa ni siya ka proseso sa paghandle sa usa ka criminal or sa usa ka offender, from the apprehension, then to the prosecution for the determination of the evidence presented both parties, and also in the court for hearing the both parties, and also if the offender is found guilty of a certain crime, they will be transferred or they will be submit to the correction for the punishment and rehabilitation upon serving his sentence. Once he or she will be completed their sentence, they will return to society in a productive or become a good and a law-abiding citizen. So that is the criminal justice system. And what is criminology? So when we say criminology, it is the body of knowledge regarding crime as a social phenomenon. It includes within its scope the process of making laws. Now remember, making laws, of breaking laws, and of reacting towards the breaking of laws. That is the criminology, the body of knowledge. And the criminology has three interrelated divisions. First is the sociology of criminal law, which is systematically analyze the conditions under which penal laws develop, explains as well the procedures used in police agencies and courts. This first division focus on lawmaking. So kini nga first division is nakafocus na siya sa lawmaking. And the second one is the sociology of crime and the social psychology, or the criminal behavior, which examines economic, social, and political conditions that generates or prevent the commission of a crime. The second division focus on law breaking. So kaning second division nakafocus na siya sa law breaking. So the third one is the sociology of punishment and correction that systematically analyze the procedures and policies that aims to control crimes. So this third division focuses on society's reaction on lawbreaking. So mao ni ang third. Then the next is, what is the difference between criminal justice and criminology? So unsa may difference ani niya? So first, when you say criminal justice, it is a studies the agencies of social control and handles criminal offenders. So sayon ra ka siya, when we say criminal justice, mao ni siya ang naghandle sa mga offenders, criminal offenders, the system, the criminal justice. And when we say criminology, so explains the etiology, extent, the nature of the crime and the society. So mo ni siya ang mag-explain, mag-study, about the nature of the crime in the society. So those are their differences. Next, crime and criminal justice system. So what is crime? So crime is the event that calls for operation for the criminal justice system. So when there's somebody who committed a crime, it needs a response, the operation of the criminal justice system. So later on, ato na siyang isa-isahon o discuss ang part of the criminal justice process. Then next, when a crime is committed, it disturbs the tranquility and harmony of the society. Such event calls upon the police to initiate police intervention by way of investigation, apprehension of those who violate the law, the prosecutor to prosecute the case, the court to determine the guilt, the accused, and the rest of the system follows as incumbent upon the role in the criminal justice process. So mo ni akong gingon ganina nga, when there is somebody who committed a crime, makadisturb the harmony of the society. So unsa may respond, the first to respond if there is somebody nga makakommit og krimen, so the law enforcement, for apprehension, kinsa may apprehend, syempre katong mga naka-violate, naka-commit og crime. And of course, upon if there is somebody nga madakpan, ma-apprehend sa atong law enforcers, so they will file a case, into the prosecution. So the prosecutor will prosecute the case, will evaluate, the evidence, and the court will determine the guilt of the accused, i-hearing dito sa korte. So once the offenders was found guilty and of a certain crime, they will the court will submit to the correction for the punishment and rehabilitation of the criminal offenders. So next, what is crime in the criminological sense? So a crime in a criminological sense is a violation of societal rules of behaviors as interpreted and expressed by a criminal legal code created by people holding social and political power. So it is a violation of societal rules, ang usa ka krimen. Individuals who violate these rules are subject to sanctions by state authority, social stigma, and loss of status. The next, criminologists define crime as a voluntary and intentional violation by legally competent person of a legal duty that commands or prohibits an act for the protection of the society. Crime is punishable by judicial proceeding in the name of the state. Then next, what are the things that are apparently constitute crime? Unsa man ang mga butang, nga makaingon ta siya kana usa ka krimen, So the act must be voluntary. So remember nga ang act sa usa ka tawo is voluntary, iyahang pagbuot, Thus, if the criminal act were shown to have been done involuntarily, as when the individual is forced to commit a criminal act against his will, the person cannot be found guilty of a crime. So, let's say nga, kung naayo sa katawo nga nakabuhat og krimen nga wala niya tuyo or else nabuhat lang niya, it's because there is somebody nga nagsugo niya, no? Or else walay pagtugot, no, sa iyang kagalingon nga kabubuton, no? The person, no, cannot be found guilty of a crime. So, or kanang gitawag involuntary, no, against his will, no. Remember, the things that apparently constitute a crime, it is the act must be voluntary or iyang kagalingon nga kabubuton. Next one is must be intentional. So dunay intent, no, dunay intention, no. Thus, otherwise criminal act that occurs by accident generally is not considered crime. So kung accidental, no, so dili na siya intentional. So remember, it must be intentional. If there's accident, no, that is not considered, no, a crime. Then it must be committed by a legally competent person, no. Under the law, certain persons are considered not capable of committing a crime, like the insane or those who are 15 years old below. So we knew that the person, no, and below 15 years of age is a minor, and he is not capable, he is not a competent person to commit a crime, no. He is minor age and is not liable for a crime, since we have a certain law nga nag-covered aning 15 years old and below. And those persons nga katong mga insane, no, katong mga may problema sa ilahang pangutok, no, those are insane, no, kung makakommit sila crime, so that is not a legal competent person, no. So atong hinumduman ang mga requirements or the constitute crime of a crime rather. So next is the behavior that constitute crime can be either an act of commission or an act of omission. So thus, one may be guilty of a crime by doing something which is prohibited or should not be done, such as a murder, as well as doing what the law says should be done, no. In this connection, the act of omission to constitute a crime must be considered unlawful, no, unlawful by the statute at the time the act is committed. So that is the behavior that constitutes crime that can be either an act of commission or an act of omission. So next is a crime is not an act that threatens the welfare of the society, and it is punishable by judicial proceeding in the name of the state. This crime is considered to be crime against the collective well-being of the society. In criminal proceedings, the offended party or private complainant is merely considered as the primary witness of the state. So now, how may the government convict a person of a crime? So unsaon man, no, pag-convicto so sa katawo nga nakakommit og crime. First is the act was committed. The act was committed. So iyag yung nabuhat, then that the time of its commission was prohibited, ginadili, or that the accused failed to do something commanded by law. In this connection, it is better to recall the principles of maxims in criminal law as previously stated. Next, that the accused did not act voluntarily and with full knowledge kay balo siya of what he or she was doing, no? The crime must be committed with the concurrence of intent, freedom of action, and intelligence, or by means of negligence or imprudence. So kabalo siya sa kana nga crime nga dili maayo, but he or she act voluntarily, no? So mo na ang mga factors nga convict ang usa ka person nga nakakommit og crime. So next, that the act resulted from the intent, no? The occurrence of acts, an intent or negligence or imprudence. Next, that the act and the intent caused something to occur that was offensive to the law. So it is offensive, no? Ang iyahang to the law, ang iyahang gibuhat, and that is cause some harm to the society. So nakaresulta og kadaot ngadto sa ato ang komunidad. The note. So in the Philippines, if a crime is punished by a revised penal code, it is called a felony, no? If by a special law, it is called an offense. If by an ordinance, it is called an infraction of an ordinance. So later on, when you kumakuha na nyo ang subject nga revised penal code book 1 o book 2, may encounter ninyo nga mga term, no? Kaning felony, offense, and kaning gitawag infraction of an ordinance. So how are crimes classified by criminologists, no? Criminologists devote a great deal of attention to defining crime in general or specific terms. So the examples of criminological classification of crimes are the following. So criminological classification na punta sa krimen. So first, the types of victims, no? Child abuse, women elderly, muna ang mga types of victims. Then the type of offender, white collar crimes ba na siya, hate crimes or blue collar crimes. And the object of the crime, property or person or state. So naamtay gitawag sa crimes against property, no? Crimes against persons, crimes against the fundamental law of the state. So later on ato na siyang matagsitag sa atong mga discussion in the coming days. Then how are crimes classified under book 2, the revised penal code? So there are so many, crimes, committed against, the national security and the law of the state, and crime against the fundamental law of the state, unang yun kanina. Then crimes against public order, crimes against public interest, crimes relative to opium and prohibited drugs, crimes against public morals, crimes committed by public officer. So next, crimes against persons, no? Daghan kayo ang kining crimes against persons, daghan kayo makakommit ani. So let's say for example, murder, homicide, that is a crimes against persons, no? And crimes against personal liberty and security, crimes against property, no? Example ini is theft or robbery, that is a crimes against property. Crimes against chastity, crime against civil status of person, crimes against honor, crime quasi offenses. So these are the following crimes na kini siya when you proceed to the criminal CLG2 or criminal law and jurisprudence 2. So i-discuss na siya sa tagsa, no? Then next, what is justice? So can we be truly just, no? Do we want all members of the society to come under the umbrella of justice? So these are similar questions that have been fascinated politicians, patriots, philosophers, and the general public for centuries. So there is no universal definition of justice. It is a concept that spans an infinite number of perspectives and views it as valid as the other, even though at times incompatible. So to dispense absolute justice requires the presence of 4 elements. So para ma-dispense na to, ang justice requires the presence of 4 elements. So first, the absolute ability to identify the law violator rather. So dapat ma-identify na to ang usa ka law violator kung kinsa gitong nakakommit sa maong krimen. Then the absolute ability to apprehend law violator, of course, if there is somebody who commit a crime, ato ginang i-apprehend, ato ginang dakpon ang violator. And the absolute ability to punish law violator, of course, i-punish since nakakommit sila og crime, no, atong i-apprehend, then i-punish. Then ikaapat, the absolute ability to identify the intent of the law violator. So unsa magi intensyon ngano iya matong nabuhat ang usa ka krimen, no? These are the 4 elements, no, that requires para ma-dispense nato ang justice. The 4 types of mistakes that can happen when society attempts to administer justice, no? Mistakes na din siya na pwedeng mahitabo, no, when society attempts to administer justice. So the innocent is punished, so pwede, no. Then the guilty escapes the punishment. The guilty are punished more severely than necessary. Then the guilty are punishable less severely than necessary. So muna nga kinahanglan jud nga ipaagi og due process. No, kay matud ba na nga it's better to dismiss 10 criminals than to convict 1 innocent, no? So next, the justice system tends to possess a twofold role. So namely, no, mo niyang twofold role sa justice system. First, the prevention of certain activity that is harmful to the society. So mo din yung pinaka-best, no, ang prevention. Then the apprehension and the formal processing of individuals who have committed illegal acts. So the apprehension, no, so better is prevention nga let's say for example kung naay mga police visibility, so that is a crime prevention. Then so those things nga naay mga tao nga makakommit og crime is mana sila nga ay wala may police presence, so magsalig sila mo na nga naay makakommit og krimen, no. But the things ang buhaton na sad, if there is somebody nga makabuhat og krimen, ang buhaton sa law enforcement sa atong justice system is to arrest, no, or to apprehend. Those are the twofold role of the justice system. So criminal justice system, so defined as the machinery of the state or government which enforce the rules of conduct necessary to protect life and property and maintain peace and order. So mao gini ang main purpose, no, sa criminal justice system, no, nga to enforce the rules of conduct, no, i-enforce ang balaod, no, and to protect the life and property, and of course to maintain the peace and order. So muna gina ang main purpose sa atong criminal justice system. Then what are the 5 pillars of criminal justice system in the Philippines? No, ato gining balik-balikon because this is the very important things that we need to master and study in the field of criminology. So kung criminology student ta, ato gining i-master kay mao ni naa dinhi anhi mo agi ang due process when there is somebody who commit a crime. So anhin niya mo agi. First is the law enforcement. So ang law enforcement mo ni sila ang task nila is first katong gingon ako ganina nga crime prevention. But if there is somebody nga makakommit og krimen, the law enforcement is the first responder or respond in the certain crime or crime area. So what are the examples of law enforcement, no? In our country, in the Philippines, are the let's say the Philippine National Police, also NBI and many others. So daghan kay mga law enforcement agency diri sa ato ang nasod. But first, ang pinaka frontliner gyud nga law enforcer is the Philippine National Police. So kung naay makakommit og krimen, sila ang mo arrest mo dako. And next is the prosecution. So kung doon na nay gidakpan sa pulis, asa man na nila dad no, i-detain ra ba na sa police station for how many days? For weeks, months? So of course, ilan ang pailan og kaso adto na dadon sa prosecution. So and the prosecution will task to evaluate the evidence presented kung kana siya nga gi-file is the probable cause, no? So after determining the prosecution, so the prosecution will submit to the court for a hearing. So i-hearing, so ang judge paminawan ang both parties nga i-present ang ebidensya sa prosecutor and sa defense, no? And after hearing several years, if the person who committed a crime is found guilty, no, the court will submit the offender to the correction for the punishment and rehabilitation. After the offenders or the criminal offenders has been served his sentence in the correction, so they will back to the community. So that is the process, no? The criminal justice system, so or the due process. So mo na ang ana mo agi, but individually aton yung detalyadahon og discuss, daghan gyud ta kayo og angay nga sigutan. So as of now kana lang sa. Then next, the first four components are the so-called formal criminal justice system outside the formal organization. However, the community is the basic elements of informal pillar and considered the fifth component of pillar of the entire criminal justice system. Then in the Philippine setting, no, the law enforcement, particularly, so manahingon nga the Philippine National Police, no, ang PNP under na siya sa DILG or Department of Interior and Local Government. And while the National Bureau of Investigation, the NBI, is under or attached to the DOJ or Department of Justice. Then the prosecution service is under na siya sa Department of Justice. While the Ombudsman is a constitutional body independent from even the three major and co-equal branches of the government. So ang Ombudsman more ay file case sa mga public officers. Then the PAO, the Public Attorney's Office, is also under the DOJ. Also the PAO, thus the prosecution generally considered as the representative of the state in criminal cases. So ang prosecution malay representative sa state, sa nasod or sa Philippines. So in criminal cases, and the Public Attorney's Office is also generally represent the accused, no, or the respondent in criminal cases, belong to the same department of the government. So adto pud sa accused ang PAO, no, Public Attorney's Office. Then the court, meaning the regular civil courts, including the Sandigan Bayan Special Criminal Laws, under the supervision and control of the Supreme Court. So there are many courts, no? Sa MTC, Municipal Trial Court, MCTC, Circuit Trial Court, no? MTCC, there are Regional RTC, Regional Trial Court, Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court. Then the correctional institution is under the DOJ and the ILG. So the Bureau of Corrections ng Bucor is National Penitentiary is under the DOJ by virtue of Republic Act 6975. So the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology or BJP is under or is in charge of the city or municipal jails. While the provincial government is in charge of provincial jails, both are under the ALG. So while this Department of Social Welfare and Development, or the SWD, is also now deeply involved in the correctional process, especially with the children in conflict with the law, or CICL, by virtue of RA 9344, or the Criminal Justice Welfare Act. So katong mga child nga below 15, so the in charge are to handle with that if a child committed a crime, so the SWD will be the one to handle in that certain case or crime by virtue of Republic Act 9344, or the Juvenile Justice Welfare Act. So that's all, my dear students. Thank you guys for watching this video discussion. I hope that you learned something new in this discussion. And the next video, so we will discuss more about the introduction to criminal justice system. So this video is part 1 of your module 1. So I hope that you will continue to watch in our upcoming videos, especially the part 2 of the introduction of Philippine criminal justice system. So thank you so much, and before I end, so don't forget to subscribe this channel. So salamat gid sa suporta and help me to reach our goal, no? So by your support. So salamat kayo, o God bless ninyo tanan. Bye bye.